How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping yet another video. Right, guys, this is a video about a story that's in the Essex Live. It's about Chelmsford right now. I've heard nothing but bad things about Chelmsford, and this story doesn't do anything to improve that in any which way. Link in the description below, like I always do. Headline reads, Chelmsford prisoners stage dirty protest with human waste. Report finds the Independent Monitoring Board's annual report has raised concerns regarding violence, bullying and drug use. Inmates at Chelmsford Prison staged dirty protests with human waste, which damaged cells, offices and other areas, a new report has revealed. Cells at the Category B prison were also flooded and the exercise yard was littered with rubbish and clothing. When it comes to life after custody, a quarter of inmates have a job to go to when released, but more than a third do not have a permanent place to live. I don't buy that either. A quarter of inmates have a job to go to when they're released from prison. I don't really buy that. But more than a third do not have a permanent place to live. In May 2018, HMP Chelmsford was placed in special measures, highlighting the need for extra resources for staff training and refurbishment of older parts of the institution. The Independent Monitoring Board, or the IMB, annual report of HMP Chelmsford was published today, Monday the 7th of January. And raises ongoing concerns over violence and drug use in the prison, as well as the available health services for inmates. The report, which covers 12 months to August the 31st last year, highlights worries surrounding self-harm. Well, we've seen record levels of self-harm anyway, sadly. Increased levels of violence and assaults on staff. We're seeing record levels of assaults from prisoner to prisoner, assaults on staff, year-on-year record highs. What they don't collate, guys, assaults from prison officers to prisoners, because apparently they don't happen. What is the IMB, or the Independent Monitoring Board? Under the Prison Act of 1952, every prison is required to be monitored by an independent, so they say, board appointed by the Secretary of State from members of the community where the prison is based. The board has to review the humane and just treatment of those in custody, and the programmes preparing them for release inform the Secretary of State or official. Any concern it has and publish the annual report on how the prisoners met the standards. The board has the right to access each prisoner, prison records and every part of the prison to conduct their report. The board expressed concerns that cells in the segregation were often out of order because of damage caused by prisoners, flooding them and conducting dirty protests. Dirty protests, guys, if you don't know what it is, you should know, but if you don't, I'll explain at the end. The damage was found to extend beyond their cells due to gravity washing away human waste in other areas of the wing, including offices and the servery. The segregation unit is where inmates are held to maintain good order or discipline. Good order or discipline. Inmates can find themselves in cell confinement as a form of punishment following an adjudication. Adjudications are nicking. The board revealed the prison had inconsistent and incomplete data for the number of prisoners held in the segregation unit and the reasons for their confinement. The report reads, since the previous inspection, the number of adjudications has increased significantly, and it was comparatively high. The use of a special accommodation had increased. These uses were in the main justifiable, although some prisoners spent far too long in these conditions. In January last year, Government Facility Services Limited, or the GFSL, took over the management of the facility of more than 50 prisons in the UK, including Chelmsford. The board highlighted the long length of time to establish a fully operational works department in the prison and the postponing of the introduction of in-cell devices to allow prisoners to make their own medical appointments or access prison services as concerns under GFSL. However, all wings now have in-cell telephones, allowing prisoners to call friends and family on the outside. There are security restrictions in place to prevent prisoners phoning unauthorised numbers. Violence and drug use. Following an inspection in May and June of 2018, drug use was found to be stubbornly high, while levels of self-harm were far higher than any other local prisons. Force had been used on 420 occasions in the 6 months preceding the inspection, which was more than double at the time of the last inspection. Assaults on staff more than doubled, and prisoner fights and assaults rose by more than 17%. Drugs are still readily available and widely used, despite the prison attempting to detect their importation and prevent their use. Well, prison officers, as well as other means, as we know. Drugs use and prisoner indebtedness remain two primary causes of prisoner violence, self-harm and injuries. During the year of inspection, there were 5 deaths in custody, God bless all those 5 victims. However, HMP Chelmsford had implemented a new strategy to reduce self-harm and recently introduced more officers into its safer custody team. Not enough beds in the healthcare wing. The IMB expressed concerns about the demand for inpatient services far exceeds supply. There is a provision, easy for me to say, for only 12 inpatient beds to serve a population of 750. Not all parts of the prison are fully accessible to older prisoners or those with mobility difficulties. Essex partner University NHS Trust provide a healthcare service for the prison, the same service provider for members of the public. The board found there were long delays for inmates with mental health needs to be seen by psychiatry and also for patients who needed to be transferred to external secure mental health facilities. Regarding the need to have mentally ill patients moved on swiftly to secure mental facilities where their needs can be met. The report states we have made this plea for a number of years, but nothing has changed. Inmates not attending healthcare appointments was also flagged up with staff shortages branded significant. The board was pleased to note the EPUT, easy for me to say, provides weekly drop-in sessions on all wings. Weekly drop-ins. The history of Chelmsford Prison. The prison has been on the site since 1819, with the original prison, Wing A to D, being built with a traditional 3-storey design. 2 new residential buildings were added in 1996, E and F wings and G wing opened in 2006. Facilities include a 12-bed, 24-hour healthcare centre, educational facilities, a gymnasium, an artificial sports pitch, library, kitchen. There is also a multi-faith room, laundry room, recycling centre, visitor centre and offices for prison staff and agency staff. Segregation is on A wing with vulnerable prisoners having separate accommodation. E wing provides drug treatment programmes and F wing is the first night and induction unit. Chelmsford is a category B local prison serving local courts and holds those that are sentenced on remand or on trial. On trial. Obviously, I get it. Young adults and adults are housed there. Young adults and adults are housed there as well as some foreign national prisoners. The average stay of a prisoner is just a few weeks, leading to a higher turnover. There are a large number of transfers to and from court and other establishments throughout the day. Only 25% of prisoners have a job when they leave. Figures from August 2018 show a decrease from 40% the previous year. Also, a third don't have a home to go to, or 38%, which saw an improvement from 42% the year before. However, in April of 2018, the prison introduced a reoffending strategy, which looked at several different pathways to reduce the chance of inmates reoffending. They include education, training and employment, should have already been in place. Healthcare should have already been in place. Drugs and alcohol should have already been in place. Finance, benefit and debt should have already been in place. Children and families should have already been in place. Attitudes, thinking about and behaviour programmes should have already been in place for years. Accommodation should have already been there for years. Following this, improvements have been made in those areas. Allocation of places in education has risen from 40% to 100%. Attendance at education has risen from 41% to 63%. Attendance at work on the wings and external areas remained at a constant 70%. Attendance at work in industry, laundry, recycling, tea packing, etc. increased from 52% to 72%. Then there's another story. It's a big piece, this, guys, big feature piece. The inmate who spent nearly 2 days on the prison roof. On June the 11th last year, a prison inmate managed to climb onto the building's roof and spent almost 2 days shouting and waving and mooning passers-by. Police officers were called to the cordon off Sandford Road at the junction with Springfield Road, denying entry to pedestrians and drivers. Prison staff worked with the police to bring him down and eventually they succeeded. But in that time, the inmate managed to cause quite a stir with his antics. The reason that prisoners take that course of action, guys, is to highlight the treatment and the conditions going on within the prison. There was a clear denial of natural justice when 3 prisoners who were detained in relation to immigration were being held beyond their point of their sentence. In August of 2018, information shows 3 inmates held for 69, 49 and 39 respectively past their due release date. The board wrote this was a clear denial of natural justice to the issue and needs to be addressed immediately. The board, made up of 11 members in September of 2017, which increased to 13 by the end of August 2018, visited the prison 347 times throughout that period. Members of the board also attended 50 segregation reviews. The report also states that staff numbers increased between September 2017 and August 2018 after a recruitment drive, although this means 70% of officers have been in the service less than 2 years. Despite concerns raised, the board said they were impressed by the care, professionalism and dedication of individual staff and those in senior management. Ministry of Justice response. Ministry of Justice prison spokesman said the prison is working closely with the police and healthcare providers to tackle the supply and use of drugs and reduce the violence at the prison. Specialist training has been introduced to help staff identify, monitor and support vulnerable offenders, and 60% prison officers have been recruited in the past year. Here goes they just throw out the same bullshit. We are investing £70 million across the prison estate to improve security, decency and safety, including airport-style scanners, foam blocking technology, enhanced perimeter searches and more drug detection dogs. All them things don't aid rehabilitation by bringing in dogs and scanners and stuff. Just supply a contraband, that's it. But that then could in part see a reduction in violence, because where you've got contraband, you've got debt. Where you've got debt, you've got fear, intimidation, bullying and violence. Dirty protests. People have been locked up in a second in their own cells and stuff. Dirty protest in a nutshell. Shit into your hands, shit into a bowl. Just shit into a bowl. Just some prisoners cover themselves in it, strip naked and cover themselves in their own shit, waiting for the Mufti squad to go in. The Mufti squad they're all in riot gear, ready to do a cell extraction. Then it can go higher than that. They can go to nationals and stuff like that. But normally Mufti squads are normally, if it's just one incident, one prisoner, they can deal with it on themselves. And then some prisoners just smear it up the wall. They write, "Help me." I've seen a prisoner. I remember coming, because I was a cleaner on my last stretch, right? I remember going down to get me cornflakes. Took my bowl down to get me scran and that. Came back up. As I'm coming up, the nurse, Chelsea, was coming out. I said, "Chelsea, what's up?" And she's like holding her mouth and all this. She was on a wand, yeah. I said, "What's up?" And she said, "Just pure mental health." What he'd done, he'd shit into a bowl. Right? Pure mental health, guys. It's not even funny. It wasn't even funny. Shit into a bowl, scooped the shit up, and just like, I've not got air, so you can't really thing, but he used the shit up and just went, and had a big handprint there where he used it as gel in a nutshell. Even combing it through. A lot of prisoners were at his pad door, and we just lost our own and said, "Oi, fucking move, leave him alone, man." Me and the cleaners were on the twos, and we said, "Oi, it's not funny, man. Mental health issues, man." Do you know what I mean? The kids got mental health issues. We've all struggled with issues ourselves. Do you know what I mean? A lot of you might have struggled with mental health issues. But yeah, we just didn't appreciate it at first. Like you think, do you know what? Like the first time I ever heard about it, I probably laughed. You know what I mean? Back in the day. But like on my third and final stretch, I'm like, it's not funny. These prisoners are suffering, mate, immeasurably, mentally, physically, psychologically. If you've got any problems in your life whilst in prison, it magnifies them by about 1 million. You start to think, overthink, you start to dwell. Takes you to some very, very dark places. Dangerous thing in prison isn't the debt, isn't the drugs, isn't the weapons, isn't the spice, isn't the understaffing, isn't even the violence. It's your own thoughts, your own mind, right? You start to think, overthink, dwell, and a lot of these prisoners, you've got to remember, they've grown up in care, they've been physically abused, sexually abused, parents were addicts, they've battled addictions themselves, they've been bullied, they might have autism, mental health issues. A lot of them are damaged, man. And yeah, it's just, before offenders were ever offenders, they was first victims, man. I genuinely do, not everybody, but most, for the most part, 1,000,000%. Sad state of affairs, guys, man. Really, really is. I'm extremely hungover. I've done 4 vlogs, long vlogs. So I'm going to do the rest of them tomorrow because I'm knackered. I'm going to scran out and chill, man. Yeah, I'm not sponsored by Surf, even though you'd think it would order bloody. I've got 1 on the window. I've got about 7 bottles of Comfort, and I've got 2 massive boxes of Surf. I think it's the prison side of me that keeps me stocking stuff up and lining everything up. It's fucking mad. The fact that that one's over there, just like next in front of the Surf, that's winding me up. That because I like them all like in thingy, and I wish that I had more white ones because I've got to go white, blue, white, blue, white, blue. OCD, I don't know. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.